Now, let's zoom in a little deeper on this idea that knowledge is contextual, that a certain leaf makes sense in a certain context, but that might be absolutely useless in another context. In one of our previous videos, in the video on the knowledge flow, we had a look at this knowledge information graph. And basically what you're seeing over here is that as the quantity of knowledge is increasing, so is the variance in the quality. And we are living in a day and age where over the past 15 years, we've almost 100-folded all of the data that we as humans have, right? So we're creating these gigantuous amounts of information. And by increasing that quantity, we are also increasing the variance between the quality. And that means that the best information that is out there now is better than ever before, more valuable than ever before. But the shittiest information is also shittier than ever before. So the gap between those two poles has increased drastically. And that means that the job that we have, the challenge that we have, the opportunity that we have is to sort of delve through this gigantuous amount of information quantity and try to find these gems for ourselves. But what we did not discover in the last video is that what is a gem is very dependent on the context in which it's used. Let's say, for example, very simple example, a PIN code, right? A PIN code to a bank account or a key to a crypto wallet. If I have a PIN code, let's say it's 4422, and this PIN code gives me access to a bank account that has €1 million on it, that is a very valuable piece of information, right? It's an absolute gem. With just these 4 numbers, like very tiny bit of knowledge, I can access this €1 million bank account or maybe this €10 million crypto key. But if I have the same knowledge, the same 2244, it looks like the same type of information, but it's not the PIN code to this bank account, it's useless. It's shit, right? It's the same piece of knowledge, but in a different context, it doesn't have that value. So this graph isn't static. It's not that a piece of information that you find inside this graph is valuable in and of itself. It's all in relationship to all of the other knowledge that we have, that things start making sense, right? This is why we use this idea of the knowledge tree. All of the information is linked to each other. It makes sense in the context of other information. Now, like I said before, this is an oversimplification because knowledge doesn't just flow in one particular branch, but actually it's all interconnected with each other in many different ways. So if we go back to that example of the monochromatic color scheme, yes, that might not be very valuable in the context of cleaning a sewer, but it might be valuable for a chef who is cooking a meal. Now, for this meal, let's say this is cooking meals, cooking vegan meals, whatever. This is the branch related to cooking food. Having that monochromatic color on the plate isn't essential to the cooking of the food, right? Ultimately, it's about the taste, but presentability also matters. So having this idea of monochromatic coloring, or maybe even just this idea of color theory, might add to the experience of this meal. And like that, all these different knowledge branches, all these different contexts have a certain level of relatability to each other. So in a certain context, it might be absolutely useless, whereas in another context, it is the most valuable thing that you could possibly have, but most of the times it's going to fall somewhere in between that, right? It has some level of value, but it's not going to be the perfect fit.